so we're on to a few more questions here. The first one is finding the perimeter. Now you know that finding a perimeter we're going around the outside of whatever the shape is. So we need to add up all these sides to get our perimeter. So you'll notice we have one side missing and we need to find that first. Alright, so this is a right angled triangle. You've been given two sides and we're finding the third side. So it's Pythagoras' theorem. So the right angle, opposite the right angle is our hypotenuse. So the C will be 13. A and 9 will be our other two sides, but remember I said we're going to put the letter always in first. It's just easier for the working. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 9 squared and move it over to the other side and make it minus 9 squared. And then we're going to our calculator. So go to your calculator and we're doing 13 squared minus 9 squared equals, and we get 88. Just keep that on your calculator. So then we're going to get rid of our squared there. So we do the opposite, which is square root 88. Now, because you've still got that 88 on your calculator, we're just going to go square root answer. So square root, and then we're pressing the answer button, remember, because that will be the square root of the last answer we got. Then press equals. And we're writing that answer down, the whole thing. So make sure you've got room. Okay, we are not rounding off anything early. So I know it says 1 decimal place, but we do that right at the end. So just keep that number on your calculator. Don't clear anything. And we're going to add up all our sides now. So you've got to show the working. 9 plus 13 plus the side you just found. We're writing the whole lot down. Too many times the HSC markers comment on people rounding too early and then getting a wrong answer. So we've already got that decimal on our calculator. So now we're going to add the 9 and the 13 and press equals. So it says answer plus 9 plus 13 because that was the last answer we had. And that's our answer. Write it down. All right, and now we're rounding to 1 decimal place now that we're at the end of the question. Okay, so 1 decimal place. Draw your line after that. Look at the next digit only. That digit is 5 or more, so we're going up by 1 here to 4. Leave everything in front of that, and that's our answer. Centimetres on the end. All right, let's look at the next question. Again, we are finding perimeter. So we're adding up all the sides around the outside of this shape. We've got all of the sides except this one. So we need to find that. Now, if you get your red pen and just go around that triangle there, we're working in there. Okay, there's a right angle there. This is our hypotenuse that we're finding. So we need to put in these two sides. Now, it looks like we don't have them, but we do. This one here is the same as this one. Just slide it across. So in red, just write 2.5 on that side. And then this one here, if you think about it, this is 4.5, the whole thing. This is 3. So using our two horizontal sides, we can find this horizontal piece. So all of that's 4.5. From there to there is 3. So this piece here will be 4.5 take away 3, which is 1.5. Alright, so that's what that bit is, and we'll write it in here. Okay, so now we can use our numbers. We're going to put 2.5 and 1.5 into our formula. And now we're going to go to our calculator and just work out what 2.5 squared plus 1.5 squared is. And we get 8.5. Leave it on your calculator. Don't clear anything. Okay, we're now getting rid of our squared. Do the opposite, which is square root over here. And remember, we've still got our 8.5 on our calculator, so that's our last answer. So we're going to do square root, answer, equals, and that's what we're writing down. Don't clear your calculator. Keep it on. Alright, so to find your perimeter, we are adding up 4 sides in this shape. We're adding 3, 2.5, 4.5, and the side we just found. Let's write it all down. Okay, and on your calculator, you've already got that big long decimal, so you don't need to write it in again or type it in again. So we're just going to add the other 3 numbers on now. Plus 3 plus 2.5 plus 4.5 equals, and that's what we get. Write it down. And then at the end, we're going to round off to 1 decimal place. So there's your 1 decimal place. Draw your line. We're looking at the next digit after it. That number is less than 5, so we're going to keep that 9. And we're going to keep everything before it. And we're in metres. And that's your perimeter. All right, one more perimeter question, this one here. The missing side that we need to find is this one. Now, I might just call it X for the moment. You'll see why in a minute. Now, that is part of, you've always got to think, well, when I'm finding a side length, what triangle is it part of? And it's part of this triangle here. But the problem is, we don't have much information about that triangle. We've only got one side. We don't have this one. So we're going to think, all right, well, how can we find this side? Well, that side is part of this triangle. So we're going to start our working down here at this bottom right-angled triangle. I'm just going to use a blue texter to go over what we're looking at here. And I'm going to call that side there C. So I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem on the blue triangle. Put your formula down. And sub in the 2 sides that we're using here. Okay, and then we're going to our calculator and we're working out 9 squared plus 9 squared. And that should give you 162. Now, we're going to get rid of the squared, do the opposite operation on the other side, which is square root. I'm going to square root the 162. And we'll see what answer the calculator comes up with for that one. This is going to be a little bit messy, all of this, but that's okay. You do what you've got to do. So we're going to square root 162, press equals, and we're going to write that down. Okay, no rounding. So we're going to use that now in the next triangle. So now we're going into this triangle, the red one. Okay, so we're using the red one now. So we're going to start again. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Now, we're calling C, our hypotenuse is X this time, so we'll use the X. One side is 4, and the other side is this one here that you just found. So it's this big number here squared. Now, I'm not going to write all that down because I'm assuming that you would think if we've square rooted 162 to get that, if we square this, we should get 162, if you think about it. Now, if you don't understand what I just said then, that's okay. Just write out all of that, okay? Don't leave anything out like I just did. I just know that's going to 162. All right, now you can go to your calculator and type that in, and that should end up giving you 178. All right, and then we're going to find X, so we have to get rid of the squared here. Opposite of squaring is square root. We're square rooting 178. And now we'll go to the calculator and do that. So we want to do square root 178 equals, and write that number down, the whole thing. Okay, now, sometimes you get to there and you think you're finished. Okay, just keep an eye on what you're actually doing and keep looking at the question. Question is find the perimeter. So now we're going to go to finding the perimeter. Right, so we've had a fair bit of working to do on this question. All right, this was out of the blue triangle. This was out of the red triangle. And now we're finally into the perimeter. So we're going to add up the sides of this shape, just the outside lines that we've got there. So we've got a 4 plus 9 plus x, and x is this thing. So write it all down again. And then go to your calculator and add it all up, and let's see what we get. And then after you've got to there and you're finally finished, then you can round it off to 1 decimal place like they said. And if we're going to 1 decimal place, the 4 is less than 5, so the 3 will stay. And it's in centimetres. So there's a lot of working in that question, but there's nothing there you can't do. So the whole idea of this is to start with, what am I doing? I'm finding a perimeter. I need all these sides. What don't I have? I haven't got this and I need it. Okay, so what's that part of? Which triangle? This one. Can I find it? Not yet. So what do I need? I need this. How do I get that? What's that a part of? It's a part of this. So we start by finding that, and then we work backwards to what we need. So we're actually starting with what we're trying to find, and we're working backwards to get something we can find, and then coming back forwards again to the answer. All right, so you should be able to do it, but you've just got to practice it. All right, now these last 2 questions are about area. All right, so don't get yourself all confused. All right, perimeter is adding up all the sides. Area, you have formulas depending on the shape. So this shape here is a rectangle. I've given you a right angle there, so we do know we've got a rectangle. So we eventually will be doing the area of a rectangle, which is length times breadth. That's what we're aiming for. But we can't get there yet because we have a length, but we don't have a breadth. So our first step is to find this breadth, and I'm actually going to call it B for breadth. All right? Now, I'm in this triangle up here. Let's just get your red pen and go around the triangle I'm in. All right, and that is opposite the right angle, so that's going to be C. And let's start subbing into Pythagoras' theorem. So C is 20, put it in. Letter first. I don't care that it's a B, we still put the letter first. Plus the other side, squared. All right. So we want to get rid of this plus 16 squared and move it to the other side. Move the 20 squared over a little bit to make room. And then this comes over, minus 16 squared. All right, now you go to your calculator and you're going to work that out. And I'm pretty sure it's 144, but we'll just double check. Right, so it's 20 squared minus 16 squared equals, yes, it's 144. Okay, so now we're going to get rid of our squared by doing the square root. And I think you all know what that is. That's going to be 12. So underline that. We've found that now. And now when you've found it, go and put it in on your diagram. So I'm going to put 12 here because we just found that. Now we'll see if we can do the area they wanted. So area equals length times breadth. The length is 16. You just found the breadth. It's 12. And we're just going to multiply those numbers together and find our area. And we get 192. Yep. And then on the end, write your units down, centimetres, but it's area. So don't forget the squared. All right, this next shape over here is a trapezium. It has one pair of parallel sides. These two sides are parallel. Now I know they haven't marked them with arrows, but they've given you a couple of right angles, which if you think about it, like if you had 2 lines like this, and I put right angles in there, it's going to straighten them up so they are parallel. Okay, it's like having the floor and the ceiling and your wall in the corner has a right angle to the floor and a right angle to the ceiling. That would make your floor and your ceiling parallel to each other. Okay, so if you want, you can write parallel line markings in there with your red pen. They haven't given them to you, but you do know that they are parallel. Okay, so let's go from there. We need, for the area formula, let's just write it on the side so we know what we're doing. That's the formula for the area of a trapezium that we're going to be using. Let's see if we've got all those things. Do we have A and B? They're the parallel sides. Yes? Yes, we've got those. We need a perpendicular height that goes between the parallel sides. Now that's what we don't have. This is what it is, this bit. I'm going to write an H in there for the perpendicular height that we're trying to find. Now we've got to try and work out how we're going to find that. Well, where's the triangle that the H is a part of? It's over here. So get your red pen and go around it. And put your right angle on that side to make it obvious what you're doing. Your hypotenuse will be opposite the right angle, so it's the 5. And what other side have we got? Do we know this one? I think you know how to find it now, because this whole thing is 7, and the other side up there is 4. So if this is 7 from here to here, and here up to there is 4, what's this extra little bit? To get it, you'll do 7, take away 4, and you'll get 3. So that's a 3 there. Okay, now some of you might already be able to tell me what H is. If you've got a 3 here and a 5 on the hypotenuse, what's that other side? Think about the Pythagorean triads. I think you should know. It's the 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triad. So some of you might work that out quickly because you'll go, all right, well, I know I've got the 3, I've got the 5, so my missing side, my H, is going to be 4. If you know that straight away, perfect. Just write it in. Okay, if you don't, go through your working until you get your answer. These are all the steps. And by the time you get down to there, you'll eventually get your 4 out. Okay, now we haven't finished the question. Don't forget what we're doing. We're finding area. That's just the first step. We're going to write down our formula now for the area of a trapezium, and we're going to sub everything in that we know now. So we've got a half times, now the perpendicular height we just worked out, and that's 4, times, now the two parallel sides are 4 and 7. Now I want you to put that in your calculator just like that. Okay, so put in the fraction key, a half, right arrow out of the fraction key, times 4, times, open bracket, 4 plus 7, close the bracket, equals, and you should end up with 22, and we've got metres, and it's area, so it's squared. So we finally got there. So with all of these questions, they're going to have a few parts to them, but it's using Pythagoras' theorem somehow, and then for some questions there'll be a bit more work to do, like with perimeter and area. All right, so have a go at the homework and let me know if there's any